one of the things that's really compelling about APIs is that we can get information as it changes, as it happens. We can have our sketches react dynamically to that. One of the, you know, things that people always like to talk about and ask is like, how's the weather? So I'm going to show you how you can use APIs that accept arguments that require, usually it's oftentimes called an API key, and can give you, more frequently updated information than just when somebody launches into space or not, or when the W3C decides to add a new color. So I'm using this openweathermap.org. It's free. They're reliable. Got a lot of coverage and a lot of different stuff that they have to offer. So you can sign up for an account. Here's mine. You can see under the API, if you click on the API link here for the API docs, you can see, read how to start first, enjoy using the powerful weather APIs. If you look here, it'll tell you what to do. Sign up and get an API key. Start using it for free, and if you need more features, then you can pay them. Don't worry about that. An API key is a unique identifier that will track what you're doing over time on a service. So, these folks want to know how many calls I am making or my services are making to their servers. So that's what the API key is for. Other sorts of things like OAuth or authorization keys like that are really more about security. This is more about like keeping track on what you're doing. A lot of these are rate limited, so you can't like hit the server like 1,000 times a minute, right? So tips on how to use the API effectively. Try not to do it more than one time every 10 minutes, because that's how frequently they update it. They also tell you that like they accumulate the total number of calls from all the API keys that belong to your account. So you could have multiple API keys for different applications, but they'll essentially like stop serving up data to you eventually. Now, for the kind of things that we do, it doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal. It's actually a really nice service that they offer. So I want to get the current weather data for Brooklyn, right? So here you can see it's got a really nice sort of like layout here for all their different APIs. So current weather data, and I click on the API doc, and it'll show me how you get the current weather data for one location using their API. All APIs are going to be different, so you need to be sure that, like, if you're looking at an online example that somebody's done, great, but the API might have changed. It could be for a different service than what you're using. Always do your own legwork to make sure that what you're using is aligns with with the API that you're checking. So here we can see that we can check this by city name. Real easy. This is what I wanted to do. So the API call looks like this. API openweathermap.org/data/2.5. This is probably the version number of the API. Then weather. And then you can see here it's got a question mark followed by a Q with the city name and then an ampersand, and it says app ID equals API key. So this is passing arguments to an API call that will change what it returns. So the app ID is needed and the API key is needed in order to access the services. If you just tried to do it with the city name, you'd actually get, it would say you need an app ID. And if you didn't pass in a city name, it would be like, what are you asking for? So you can see also there's different ways of parameterizing this. So city name, or state code, city, state, country. And then down here, they've got a list of all the different parameters that you've got. So you can see queue or query is required, right? And then we'll tell you what it'll accept. You can also see the app ID is required, and then here are the optional ones: mode, units, language. So my API key is inside of my account, right up here. And so if I click on this, we can see this is my API key. Now, you don't want to share this really with people. In fact, I'm going to delete this after it's done. So if you try, it's not going to really, for all the people who want to like poke around and see what use my free services. I don't know. So this key right here, you can see you can generate a key for. So I could actually do a new one, right? I could. This is the default one that's created for me. I could create a new one called P5JS test. All right, and then look here it is, right? So I'm just going to copy this. Oh, sorry. I'm going to copy this, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, so this is what I need to do for an API call, right? So I'm just going to, actually, I've got to copy things multiple times here, right? So the city name here is going to be, city name is Brooklyn, and the app ID, I need to go back and get from here, copy, and I'll paste this, and invalid API key. What did I do? So this is what happens when you pass in an invalid API key. I know that my previous one was working, so let me try this. Just gonna remove that. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why that other one didn't work. But my default one works. That's great. So we can see here it's got coordinates for Brooklyn, the latitude and longitude of the city center, cloudy, overcast, and then, holy shit, this is not the right temperature, nor is it what it feels like. Why is that? Well, if you ever see something inside of your inside of a returned bit of data that makes no sense, always go back to the API documentation, look and see, right? So if we look, we can see like, okay, so units, so units of measurement, standard, metric, imperial, standard will be used by default. So standard here is actually Kelvin, right? So scientific notation for scientific means. So what we really want here are imperial units for this, and so we do that by adding in another argument, right? And so we say ampersand units equal imperial. Now we can see this is more like it. This is a temperature that I can get with, right? So so this is how you can. So it's always important to go through, see what your what the API expects, and then also what the also if you need a key to pass that in. Now these are essentially these. Remember I talked previously about JSON returning a key value pair. These are key value pair here too. So Q is the key, the value is Brooklyn. App ID is the key, and then my API key is the value. Units is the key, imperial is the value. Key, weather, value, this stuff in here. It's all the same, just different way. It's just one is for input, one is for output. So so my sketch here. You can see I've got, I'm doing this in preload. I could very easily do this as a API, an API call, or callback. Sorry. You can see I updated this, but it's also still a little bit old from a few years ago. But what I'm doing here is I'm saying. In preload, store this JSON file into the weather variable. And then inside of the draw loop, I'm saying current temperature in NYC is, and then I say get temp weather. And so get temp here is going to parse through the JSON object and return the temperature. So we can see right here, I'm saying the function get temp, it receives an argument, data, that is what I call it in here. And so weather gets passed down into data. And then I say let temp equal data.main.temp. And if we go back here, we can see, so data is the whole thing, main, and then temp. And that's the value right there. So now when I run this, current temperature in New York City is 72.05. So it's really precise. But you could take this number and you could do any number of things. You could change the background color. You could say, you could load this into an if statement. So if it is overcast and clouds, you could then draw clouds on the screen. If it's sunny, you could draw sun on the screen. If it's, if the humidity is really high, you could just have somebody sweating profusely. Really, all this information here is yours to sort of play around with. Again, it's just a matter of knowing how to parse the information and making sure you know what to expect when you're receiving it.